Hi. What, you taking up the command chair today? I don't think so. That's my throne, little buddy. Yours is 3 stories and it's right there. Hi. Just kidding. You can lead today's conversation if you want to. Today's reflection. You can do it. Mr. Rabbit Feet. Hello. How are we doing today? I'm going to give it a few minutes. This is another pop-up, so we'll give it a second, see if some people trickle in. Meanwhile, that's interesting that you noticed that. It is. You've never done that before, ever. And you've only been on a live stream once. But you know that they can see you? That's crazy, dude. thought when I was trying to do that without messing up at least once, you would look at yourself in the mirror. I love that for us. He's pretending he's looking outside. Yeah, you're pretending. You only looked outside when I started talking to you. Did you like it? Ear twitches. Tail making shapes. Hi. So, today, I'm going to use what time I have to chip away at this stupid knot that I found myself in. I feel good today. I have the energy. I'm inspired. I've been creative. I went on a little nature drive. Got my cat some new food. You know, I'm living. Oh, you too? That's great. Yeah, I am happy to be here. Isn't that cool, Taki? Okay. So before we begin, we must reinstate the still intact disclaimer. And then we'll jump into the run of show, and then we'll move on. Hello and welcome to the Picture Pieces Archive. I go by many names. And today I am coming to you as I'm sick and fucking tired of telling my story, but I have to, so I'm going to. Let's get it over with, but not rush it. I know it's a long name. I'm working on it. I'm the oldest son of Chester Bennington, and the only one in the family or of the friends of the family investigating his death. I created the Picture Pieces Archive. The purpose was to generate a digital space in which both the public and my family could talk about their relationship with my father, who died of a sudden death that seemingly shocked the entire planet in July of 2017. His death was affecting to millions. And since his passing, there has been a very interesting conversation about who's allowed to feel what way and why. And feeling that all people are people, and that since we're all intrinsically human, we should hold space for everyone and not just ourselves, I built this. The archive is a neutral space for expression and communication, given that there are, in my opinion, not enough spaces that exist in which we can have these kinds of conversations while maintaining our privacy and maintaining respect. I decided I would make my own. This environment was not only designed to facilitate my needs as the resident metaphysician, as an artist, as a child in this situation. Not only was it designed to facilitate my needs in communication expression, but it was also designed for the purpose of allowing others like me to do the same. This is a manifestation of a heart spell that I developed at 12 years old and have continuously redefined and evolved since. I'm 28 now. That's 16 years. Today we are continuing a reflection and a discussion on a number of extremely sensitive topics, of which have the potential to be heavy for those who are participating in this reflection and discussion. Because of that, I feel the need to reiterate the disclaimer that I imposed during the first part of this live stream. This is part 3. I don't know how many parts there will be. Like I said, I'm taking my time, and this is how it feels to be the best way to do it. So we're doing it this way. For those of you who don't know me, as I just mentioned, I am the resident metaphysician here, and as well, I am an advocate and an artist and a child in this situation who lost all of their 20s to the situation. And this, Let's Talk, is a series I've developed during which I conduct meditative deep dives into what I consider to be interesting facets of my life. The archive is partly designed as an archive of my life and partly designed as a platform for my public speaking and my artistry, my advocacy. And yeah, that's what we're doing right now. We're talking, expressing. But like I said, today's discussion continues to be heavy. And so if you are sensitive to topics like suicidal ideation, substance abuse, post-traumatic stress disorder, memory loss, executive functioning, meltdowns, and so much more, please be aware that is what we are going to be talking about. This disclaimer is designed to do 2 things. 1, it is meant to define the scope of and the perspective through which this discussion and reflection will take place. And 2, it is designed to define expected audience behaviors, given some rules of engagement as guidelines. In defining the scope of and perspective through which the following discussion and reflection will take place, please know that today's discussion will center on my being sentenced with a domestic violence restraining order by someone I once considered to be my mother. She lied under oath about our relationship and claimed that I threatened to kill her in her own home after entering uninvited, and that I claimed her 2 daughters, 2 of 3 minors of hers, minor children, were better off with me, and so was there initially in the first place to kidnap my sisters, which is false. That is not what happened. It never happened. And I've been discussing my trajectory into this moment in order to better understand why someone so meaningful and so powerful in my life would say such awful, untruthful, insidious things. I'm also here to discuss, and we'll do this more towards the end of the actual, whole discussion, maybe not today, but how this domestic violence restraining order has impacted my livelihood in all ways that could be true over the last year. How I worked through and around the limitations imposed upon me by the domestic violence restraining order so that I may continue to stand in my truth in spite of adversity, as well as and this is what we're in the middle of right now, a bottom to top examination of my relationship with this mother figure, beginning with my conception in October of 1995 on Halloween, the 31st of October. Please note that the recollections and expressions that follow are my own. They are mine alone. That my perspective is not the truth, as in the whole, but a piece of a bigger truth as a perspective of a much bigger picture. I do not intend, therefore, to speak on behalf of anybody other than myself. As for expected audience behavior, please note the following rules of engagement. For the duration of this discussion and reflection, I will be allowing for the live chat, and once this video is uploaded, I will be allowing for people to interact in the comment section. However, this is not an invitation to be any which way you feel you might want to be. There are a few behaviors that will not be tolerated and are not tolerated here at the Picture Pieces Archive. Again, I built this digital environment for the purpose of holding space for both myself and those who could possibly be associated to speak freely and authentically about their life's truth. Because of that, and because of the fact that there are not many appropriate spaces for this kind of behavior, this being honest, it's important that we observe the following. Whether it be me, a member of my family, or I guess what once I called my family, or otherwise. We do not tolerate misinformation, hate speech, trolling, willing ignorance, weaponized ignorance, or otherwise violent behavior. I request that you do not stalk or harass the people involved in this examination. Do not approach them on my behalf. I'm here to clear up muddy waters, not to muddy them further. And I demand that those who choose to use this as a means for communication and expression are given the ability to do so. They are given the ability to take the time and space needed to interact with the situation in the best way possible, in the way that they see fit. By agreeing to participate in and observe me in this ritual of self-acknowledgement on the eve of the full moon, you agree to act as a passive neutral observer to my suffering. Now, with that being said, I literally can't stop you guys from doing what you're going to do. So that's something to acknowledge. The internet is the internet. I literally cannot control anybody. I would hope that by agreeing to observe me and my suffering, you understand that you have power, and that power comes with responsibility, and that you agree to be responsible with that power. Okay, with that being said, thank you all for joining me around this proverbial campfire again on the eve of the full moon, the last full moon of the year. I am excited to continue this self-awareness exercise. I took the drive today to see if I really did have the energy, to see if I had anything that I thought would be good to bring up before we started conversation. And with that being said, I do only have so much time. I plan to get off at 7 p.m. because I have the car today and my partner is relying on me to pick them up. It is 5 o'clock now. That gives me 2 hours. How exciting. As for the run of show, today what we will be doing is starting with discussion questions, moving back into my reflection on my life. I stopped last time on the day my dad died. So what happened that first day for me, what I remember being around me, what I remember experiencing emotionally, socially, etc. And then me going back to school. So that included the summer, the schoolwork I did over the summer, the many conversations I had with Talinda, the interaction I had with Anna, how our relationship began to grow in a certain way, my calling to the mystic nature of life, the metaphysical nature of life through Zenobia, how Anna and I's relationship did include that spiritual element of my father's passing, and how I returned to school after a memoriam trip to Hawaii, which was the last place that I saw my dad alive with my family on family vacation. I was there with, I believe, the Delsons, and I believe the Shinodas. I know for a fact it was the Shinodas. It's been a while, and the Delsons are in my story from here on out, but they are a relatively small part of that story. Some of you may know about my last interaction with Brad Delson, and some of you may now know that what I went to speak to him about, him, Anna Shinoda, Bradford Delson, Anna Shinoda, and Ryan Shuck, what I went to go speak to them about in part was what I was going through with Talinda, the woman I once called a mother, who got a bogus domestic violence restraining order against me instead of a cease and desist because, well, a couple of things. After the questions that I lay out for discussion, I will then be extending my apology, expanding on it, because I was thinking today on my drive that there is something that I could apologize for in terms of delivery, not in terms of energy, that may be part of this violence complex that people seem to have around me. Part of that narrative that was designed against me, not so far in my story, but will eventually become the defining factor of my parasocial relationship with the rest of the world. Because as I said, I've been talked shit about, I've been drugged through the mud, I've been told to go off myself and follow my dad's footsteps. I've been told that my entire family hates me because of the DVRO. My mom did not come out at any point to guide the conversation, to apologize, to use her affluence to create a safe and expressive environment through which we could, have the discussions we need to have about the very real things that we aren't able to talk about in person. I must say, I am absolutely not shocked, but no, I'm not surprised, but I am shocked that not only was Ryan Shuck, Linkin Park, Dead by Sunrise, my family's estate, Talinda as the head of it, allowed to be the way they were the entire time, the entire year I was under the limitations of this order. I can't believe that Talinda allowed them to do that. As a person who grew up, moved into adulthood during the 320 movement and had a huge part in that movement, in even keeping Talinda aligned with her goals and making sure she showed up for certain things, it is beyond disgusting to me, and makes my skin crawl to know that tens of millions of people around the planet, globally speaking, were affected by the poor choices of my used-to-be mother and my father's business partners and colleagues. I can only imagine what my father was going through when he was alive. Poor fucker. For real, I pity the man. All right. So, with that being said, we're doing discussion questions. I gave a little bit of a recap, but we'll go probably more into it as we go. That's been the way it's been. I just, I'll be in a certain time and be like, oh, wait, yeah, I remember this, and pull this forward, which is one of the reasons I thought I would start with discussion questions. I'm sure it will help frame the overall examination or reflection on my life. With that being said, again, thank you for joining me. I mean, it means the world to me that many of you have continued to check in, I'm pretty sure a lot of people thought this was going to be a one-off. I definitely tried to make it a one-off with my original 11-hour and 55-minute live stream, but it just didn't happen that way. I believe in divine timing. If the intuition says take your time, you're fine, then I take my time, and that's what we're doing. It means the world to me that you've taken the time out of your day to be present with me, given how serious of a situation we're all living through, no matter where you are on the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Bennington, aka I'm sick and fucking tired of telling my story because goddamn have I told it a lot. Goddamn has nobody really paid attention, and goddamn am I out here on my own. This is a year in review. Let's talk Talinda Bennington. Discussion questions. I wonder, and I asked Elka this once, my biological mother. I said, hey mom, and this was after I learned everything. This was like right before our big falling out when I found out that I had a nephew that my family was keeping from me. Brand new, newborn. Shout out to my homie. I'm sorry you were born into the curses I was born into. Burned into is a better word. Good job. Subconscious. But yeah, so I asked Elka, I said, hey, I wonder what songs were written about you. And she went, what? And I said, well, you know how Chester writes cryptic songs, these mythological recollections of his life, and that he's really talking about, like, you know, like Samantha, Jonathan Schwartz, you know, like even maybe Mike Shinoda. He's definitely talking about the label, you know, like Warner Music Group and Machine Shop. Like he's talking about putting people on their graves. Like, what do you think? Which songs were written about you? Like Grey Day stuff, probably, especially, right? She was like, I don't know about that, sweetheart. Like, your dad wasn't really like that with me. We just never really had that kind of history together. Like, not that I believe it, but they said this. And I was like, okay, cool. So you're not going to tell me is what the answer was. It's not that you don't believe him. It's that you don't see yourself ever telling me what you actually did. And so you can't even see yourself in his music, which is probably one of the reasons she told me, oh, I'm not going to listen to your playlists that you send me because I don't listen to music. It's like, you can go to work at Boeing, which is embarrassing, and stand up for them and do everything you're doing, and then also just watch Netflix show after Netflix show by listening to it, but you can't put on Sire by Jaden and just understand that's me telling you I have this perspective on life. I resonate with this. Can you learn to see me? Okay, mom. So my question is, who or what songs in the Linkin Park discography and Chester's collective discography as well, through Stone Temple Pilots, through Kings of Chaos, through Bucket of Weenies, through Dead by Sunrise, through Grey Days, what songs were about who and what situations were about what? One discussion question. Okay, next one. I want to know why, and let me look up the date real quick, Chester Bennington MusicCares Award. Tony Alva, pro skateboarder, Chester Bennington were both celebrated on December 2nd, 2014, around the time that I was talking about last time when we were talking about my life and reflection. We were talking about 2014 through 2018. We're in 2017, moving to 2018 right now when I go back for my senior year. That's in 2017 to 18, right? So this is the year I started college. During winter break, right? I love that Kendrick's GNX is being promoted right here. And right below on the Grammy Awards or Grammy Academy, whatever the fuck, Grammy.com. That's where I'm looking at this. Right underneath it is who discovered Kendrick Lamar? 9 questions about the GNX rapper answered. Squabble up, bitch. But yes, during the end of my freshman semester, starting my winter break, the first year of college, Chester was honored with the MusicCares MAP Fund Benefit Award, Stevie Ray Vaughan Lifetime Achievement. I'm going to read this right now because today's more about just piecing it together. There's something here that needs to be acknowledged, right? So we said in 2016, Chester had been submitted to Cirque Lodge Rehabilitation in Sundance, Utah, and that he was allegedly this crazy alcoholic. But according to his mom, he wasn't that crazy. According to his sister, he was working on a project starting in July of 2014 where he went undercover with many musicians to stop human trafficking, to prevent it from happening. And he did this by teaming up with the district attorney of Orange County, Tony Rackauckus, who celebrated Chester's passing twice with an acknowledgement of that exact human trafficking effort, which nobody wants to talk about, nobody wants to act like exists, and includes multiple industry professional artists, probably people you love and care about. I wonder who. So in July, he joins the task force. And so in May he does Rock in Rio. He's photographed with Bill Clinton. Sometime around that time, SRS Recycling is receiving money from the Clinton Foundation so that it can continue recycling operations in Haiti. And that company is run by Mike Shinoda. By July, Chester is involved in the Human Trafficking Task Force. And by December, he's being awarded by MusicCares for his dedication to the MusicCares MAP fund and to his dedication to helping industry musicians, people he likely would have been in the task force with, through recovery. But yet, less than 2 years later, he's shipped off by his band and his wife to Cirque Lodge. Shortly after that, he's involved with Watsky. Shortly after that, he does Chris dies, he gives his letter. Sean's book comes out. Cross Off and Friendly Fire are recorded at the same time. Chester's working with Billy Howardell very shortly after this. And sometime in the middle there, right before Chester dies, Talinda would say this, and this is something we have to talk about, the autopsy, we'll talk about that today, because she told everybody that he hogtied himself wrist to ankle, threw himself in the pool, got himself out, that counted as a suicide attempt, that she was there to watch the whole thing but couldn't stop him. And that happened sometime either just before or just after he allegedly stopped his antidepressants. Which, by the way, if you do your research, there are 3 different stories. I think all of which Talinda gave, but I think also maybe from somebody else, maybe Samantha, that go over when and why and how Chester got off his antidepressants after leaving Cirque Lodge, which he was still in an outpatient program with. And so if you do your research, you'll find there's not one answer, there's not 2 answers, there's likely 3 answers. All different timelines, all different things, all involving him hogtying himself and throwing himself in the pool before untying himself and getting out. And that pool was at the house that he died in. But we'll get there, right? There's my dog tag, I left it there yesterday. Okay, let's read this. December 2nd, 2014, Grammys reporter Crystal Larson reports at 10:06 p.m. that MusicCares MAP fund benefit, which is a charity benefit, was held in honor of Chester motherfucking Bennington and I meant to do this. This is love, right? That's what they said, right? Oh, wait, was that an Illuminati hand sign? I want to take that back. Do this one instead. I love you, Dad. You motherfucker. Chester Bennington and Tony Alva. Linkin Park frontman and original Dogtown Z-Boys skateboarder to be honored for their commitment to addiction recovery services and their support of the MusicCares MAP Fund. Before we jump into this, in case they don't end up describing what it is, let's do MusicCares MAP Fund, Google. Oh, it's on the MusicCares.org website. Awesome. And they have a Grammy gramophone, just like the Grammy.com website. All right, let's click on About, MusicCares. And we're going to go to the wiki too, because I don't see a start date on here. I don't see them saying when they started. Mission, MusicCares helps the humans behind music because music gives so much to the world. So what they said was, this is an industry-focused, nonprofit organization, allegedly, we don't know yet, they may be nonprofit, they may not, that is dedicated to the helping of music industry professionals making it through the substance addiction and mental health challenges that arise in the music industry context, because music and the musicians who make it give so much to the world, we might as well pay it back. Interesting. MusicCares provides a safety net of critical health and welfare services to the music community in 3 key areas: mental health and addiction recovery services, health services, human services. So, I guess this is interesting because in reality, MusicCares is a organization, we won't say nonprofit, an organization dedicated to helping musicians in the industry deal with mental health and addiction recovery, health services, and human services, or like HR, I imagine. Interesting. What's defined as mental health and addiction recovery services is the following: support, referrals, and emergency financial assistance for counseling, psychiatric care, inpatient treatment, coaching, intensive outpatient care, sober living, and more. So I wonder if they had anything to do with sending Chester to Sundance, Utah, where he was submitted as a patient at Cirque Lodge. I won't say Sandia every time. Cirque Lodge rehabilitation. I wonder if they had something to do with that. I wonder how much of his counseling, psychiatric care, and treatment, as well as coaching, went through MusicCares. Health services is defined as financial assistance during medical crises and preventative services such as dental and medical screenings, hearing clinics, and vocal health workshops. That's interesting. I know Chester took some vocal lessons later in his career because he wanted to go to the next step. From what I heard about people around him, they were saying when he died, he was at an opera level singing capacity. They do hearing clinics, which is good because musicians play live and their ears can go bust. And then interesting, financial assistance during medical crises, and preventative services. So I wonder how much MusicCares was involved in financially assisting my father during his life-threatening illnesses, which he accrued through fatigue, having been an indentured servant to Warner Music Group for 17 years, and his lethal, life-threatening physical injuries, including his shoulder being blown out, his back being blown out, his wrist being smashed, his ankle being smashed. I wonder how many helpful interactions they had with MusicCares. Human services is defined as support for basic living expenses like rent, wait a second, utilities, what? Car payments, and insurance premiums in times of hardship, what? Plus programs addressing affordable housing, career development, legal issues, and senior services. Wait, I have a lot of questions still. Because if all of those things were covered, why was Chester dirt poor, unable to afford the apartment he paid for himself, and going to his business partner Sean Dowdell for a 7-figure buyout, having just bought a multi-million-dollar home in which he would ultimately die after a failed suicide attempt where he got off cold turkey his friggin' antidepressants and hogtied himself hand to ankle and threw himself in his own pool. I wonder if they helped with that. Because it says they pay for living expenses or help to support them through it. So that includes rent, utilities, car payments, and insurance premiums. So especially in times of hardship. And guess what? Part of the hardship is divorce, which is something that Sean Dowdell claims is 100% a truth. Chester was going to separate from Talinda, which is why he had his own apartment. And it wasn't the first time they were going through that. So there's that. There's affordable housing. So not only do they help pay for rent, utilities, car payments, and insurance premiums, but they also help find affordable housing. I'm curious. The values of MusicCare are defined as through service, we lead with compassion, using expertise to offer customized support. We believe empathy and kindness within the music community heals all involved. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but your industry is one of the most cutthroat, heartless, demonic enterprises that has potentially ever existed. I mean, yes, there are other forms of slavery, but you get these people singing and dancing like they like it. And some of these motherfuckers really do. I'm sorry, but to tell you that there's a lack of compassion and that you might be fighting fire with fire, it's kind of sad. Inclusivity. We provide a sense of belonging in a meaningful, accessible community, not just an industry. We unify all people behind music with people who support them. Okay, MusicCares, where was your tweet? Where was your Facebook post? Where was your formal statement? I mean, you did gift this guy an award for his work doing exactly these things. So I'm just curious, did you? I don't know. I have not seen in my research yet one single thought from MusicCares about Chester's death. And I haven't seen a single one of any of the people who helped Chester, or Chester helped, literally come out and help Chester by telling them that they were helped, telling the public they were helped by Chester, what they were helped through, how he wasn't a brain dead, depressive, spiraling drug addict. I didn't see any of you do that. We unify all people behind music with the people who support them. I have something to say about the who support them part, because I'll tell you who supports musicians. Mob bosses. People who treat people like realty and assets. Guilty all the same. Empowerment. We uplift those facing challenges. More questions. Creating a safe space to get advice, access resources, and be heard. Wasn't Chester's whole fucking thing, I wasn't heard? Or was his whole thing, I was heard and you all chose to do nothing? What's that story? I think I brought it up before. About Dave agreeing to hear Chester out about his emotional challenges, and then Chester realizing at the end of this very long expression of his emotions, having been given consent to do so, Dave just like didn't look at him and didn't recognize him and didn't acknowledge him at all and just like left him hanging, and he realized like, wait, that guy wasn't fucking listening to me? Huh. Interesting. I thought I heard that story somewhere. I think that story, I didn't know last time. No, it'll come up. I don't remember. Okay. We want the music community to thrive, not just survive. Again, I can see somebody very easily here saying, those who support them. Yeah, because the label supports the artist, right? Financially. But emotionally? I don't know, man. My dad, and the way I saw him tour, would say no, they don't. And then here we have integrity. We are committed to our values and follow through on our promises. Clients and donors know they're safe with us. That's interesting because I don't think Chester thought he was very safe with you. Obviously, he didn't go to you when he said he needed help, so. Or did he? I would love for you guys to say something. Oh, wow, okay. Wikipedia. MusicCares Foundation is a nonprofit organization established in 1989 and incorporated in 1993 by the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, otherwise known as an American Learned Academy of Musicians, Producers, Recording Engineers, and Other Musical Professionals, widely known for its Grammy Awards, which recognize achievements in the music industry of songs and music of which are popular worldwide. Oh, I'm getting it now. Oh, would you look at that? I had no idea, legitimately. If you look over here, MusicCares Foundation Incorporated, for those of you who might be following along, feel free to Google this. You can look at it for yourself. This was founded December 29th, 1993, 30 years ago. It's a 501c3. It's headquartered in Santa Monica. The chair of this organization is a man named Bill SILVA. Hold on a second. Let's look at Machine Shop Records. Boop. Let's keep going, shall we? Machine Shop Records wiki. Let's look it up. Uh-oh. That's right. That's right. Oh yeah. Crew and employees. Founder and President Mike Shinoda. Founder and President Bradford Delson. Chief Operating Officer Bill SILVA. Chair of MusicCares, a 501c3 dedicated to helping artists in the industry dealing with mental health challenges and substance use challenges. That helps to find affordable housing, mental health and health care, amongst other things. Which is what? Directly related to the Grammy Foundation. That's crazy. The Grammy Awards, the Grammy Museum, the Recording Academy. That's crazy. So Bill SILVA is literally up there with these people. I did not know that. I'm legitimately reeling right now. I'm going to say everything again in a more coherent way in like 5 seconds. But I'm literally processing. This is crazy. Crazy shit. The Recording Academy is an American learned academy of musicians, producers, recording engineers, and other musical professionals, widely known for its Grammy Awards. So when you see somebody get a Grammy, it's the Recording Academy, the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, this boys club that hands out those awards. They founded the Grammy Museum. They founded MusicCares with Bill SILVA. Or at the very least, Bill SILVA just happens to be the chair now. Second in command to the president, CEO, Harvey Mason Jr., who is CEO of National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. This guy also, Bill SILVA, like I said, is the Chief Operating Officer of Mike Shinoda and Bradford Delson's Machine Shop Records, otherwise known as the label behind Linkin Park. He also, Bill SILVA, I know for a fact, works with Live Nation and is in charge of not only Las Vegas, but Southern California in terms of handing out venues to artists. Kia Forum is probably a part of that. Holy shit. All right. That's crazy. What the fuck? That's so crazy. Chester's not on this recipients list on Wikipedia. He's not at all. 2017 MusicCares MAP Stevie Ray Vaughan Award recipient for 2017 is a guy named Adam Clayton, an English-Irish musician who's also the bass guitarist of U2. The bass guitarist, Adam Clayton, from the band U2, got the Stevie Ray Vaughan Award in 2017, according to... Oh, that's right. We were down here, 2014. It's still not right. Whoa, that's so weird. Okay, so it says here that 2013 was Chester Bennington. 2014 was Ozzy Osbourne. That 2015 was Pete Townsend of The Who. Smokey Robinson was 16. Adam Clayton was 2017. That's so bizarre. Because right here, on the article we were looking at, it's dated December 2nd, 2014. MusicCares Map Fund benefit to honor Chester Bennington and Tony Alva. And Chester would be getting the Stevie Ray Vaughan Award. He would be a recipient. But here it says it happened a year earlier on the Wikipedia. 2013 Chester Bennington, 2014 Ozzy Osbourne, but it should be 2014 Chester Bennington. Somebody's fucking up the timeline here. Who's responsible for that? That's serious, considering the circumstances. All right, let's continue reading this. MusicCares Foundation is a nonprofit organization established in 1989 and incorporated in 1993 by the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, which means that MusicCares existed before the Grammy Awards and only became associated with the Grammys through the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences in 1993. So for what? 89, so 91, 2, for 4 years, it was its own nonprofit before it was absorbed by the academy that brings you the Grammy Awards. Meant for musicians to have a place to turn in times of financial, personal, or medical crises, its primary purpose is to focus the resources and attention of the music industry on human service issues which directly impact the health and welfare of the music community. The Foundation's program includes emergency financial assistance, addiction recovery, outreach, and leadership activities, as well as senior housing. MusicCares also offers hearing clinics backstage at several major festivals around the U.S. to help musicians protect their ears. I don't trust that shit. That's in MK Ultra. Since 1989, MusicCares has distributed more than $48 million to artists in need. Wait a second, that's crazy. $48 million since 1989? If this was Scientology, there would be multi-billions of dollars involved in this. I mean, fuck. Every artist, like a really big artist like Linkin Park, would make like tens of millions of dollars in a single tour run. Touring cycle. And you guys really couldn't give more than 48 million? In what? It's 2024. We're talking about 1989. Over 35 years? Holy shit. Yeah, that really caring community that cares about each other. In September 2004, MusicCares acquired the Musicians Assistance Program, a similar program assisting musicians in need, including drug rehabilitation. By the way, Musicians Assistance Program spells out the word MAP. So when you read MusicCares, MAP Fund, what you're reading is MusicCares, Musicians Assistance Program Benefit. MusicCares awards recording artists with Person of the Year awards to commend musicians for their artistic achievements in the industry and dedication to philanthropy. So the only way to get a Person of the Year award is to have an achievement in the music industry and dedicate your life to philanthropy. There you go. The Stevie Ray Vaughan Award is designed to honor musicians and their commitment to helping others through the substance dependency recovery process. Yeah, that's fucked. Why is Chester's name not where it's supposed to be? Oh, look. The MusicCares From the Heart recipient for 2006, this is the award that skateboarder Tony Alva would receive, is actually going to Bill Silva. The guy who is involved with Live Nation, Machine Shop Records, therefore Linkin Park, Bill Silva Entertainment, which is his company, and what was it, the Grammy Awards? Is that what we saw? In 2006, he received the MusicCares From the Heart Award, which is the same thing that Tony Alva would be granted in 2014. But look, here, they switched it too. 2013 is Tony Alva, and 2014 is Jeff Greenberg. That's so strange. Okay, back to the article. That was a lot to uncover right there. The 9th annual MusicCares MAP Fund, or Musician Assistance Program Fund benefit concert will honor Chester Bennington, lead vocalist of 2-time Grammy award-winning band Linkin Park, and Tony Alva, skateboarder, surfer, musician, and original member of skateboarding team Dogtown Z-Boys at Club Nokia in Los Angeles on May 30th. Well, that's confusing, actually. So was there an original date that this was released? Okay, well, I discovered a problem with this article. It's dated December 2nd, 2014. It's written by Crystal Larson, but it says that they're going to be honored on May 30th, and they don't give the year. So are they saying it happened in May, or are they saying it will happen in May, in which place the Wikipedia recipients list for both Chester and Tony is wrong, because either it would be 2014 still, or it would be 2015. That's confusing. Bennington will be honored with the Stevie Ray Vaughan Award for his dedication and support of the MusicCares Musician Assistance Program Fund, and for his commitment to helping other addicts with the addiction recovery process. Alva will receive MusicCares From the Heart Award for his unconditional friendship and dedication to the mission and goals of the organization. All proceeds will benefit the MusicCares MAP Fund, which provides members of the music community access to addiction recovery treatment regardless of their financial situation. So I'm guessing that they perform as well. So that would be odd if during this time Chester was being awarded for his assisting people in the industry through the process of recovery, for him to be also a cash cow for the industry. So he'd be performing and people would be paying for the tickets, maybe? This isn't the first time you would do something like this. I don't really know what's going on here. Chester and Tony are passionate and highly influential artists in their respective professions, and each of them has achieved impressive and much-deserved success, said Neil Portnow, president/CEO of the Recording Academy and MusicCares. So at this time, the president is Neil Portnow. So I wonder when Bill Silva became the chair of MusicCares, because also the CEO and president of the Recording Academy is junior, right? It's not port now at this moment. So the information that I got off of those 2 wiki pages is severely out of date, and it needs to be reconciled. When did Bill Silva become chair, and when did the presidency change? He may not have been involved at this time, or in 2006 when he got the award, so that's interesting. We truly appreciate their steadfast support and committed generosity. MusicCares MAP Fund is an amazing program that takes care of their own and actually saves lives, said Chester Bennington. It's been so rewarding to support them and see firsthand what they have accomplished for so many artists. What an interesting statement he made. Skateboarding, business, and music have brought me enormous satisfaction over the years, said Alva. It doesn't compare, though, with the power of being sober, which I am grateful for every day of my life. And that's why I wanted to join MusicCares to help raise funds so more people can get the help they need. Those are 2 pretty, serious endorsements. Linkin Park earned their first Grammy in 2001 for Best Hard Rock Performance for Crawling, a track from their debut album, Hybrid Theory, which has sold more than 10 million copies in the United States as of this reporting. Their second Grammy came in 2005 for Best Rap/Sung collaboration with NUMB Encore Jay-Z. Holy shit, I was just reporting about this on Instagram through my stories right before I had to come chip away at this. And it circled back perfectly. So Jaguar Wright was correct. It was Linkin Park when Jay-Z did Unplugged and was in relationship with MTV in that way. And then they came to him and they asked about the remix series. And then he said he wanted to do that. That's what Mike said. Mike said Jay is the one who was asked, and Jay was the one who said he wanted to do this with us, and we were honored. And that's why he made so many more songs than he was supposed to. And that's why they got their second Grammy in 2005. And that resulted also in that really crazy performance with Paul McCartney, Jay-Z, and Linkin Park. You guys remember that? The band has sold more than 50 million albums worldwide and is one of the biggest bands on Facebook with more than 51 million likes. Since Linkin Park debuted on the Billboard charts in 2000, no other artist had more top 10 singles on the alternative songs chart, with the release of their latest album, 2012's Living Things, which reached #1 in more than 20 countries. No band has achieved more #1 albums this century. Oh, did you hear that? When Chester was alive, this was the truth. But look at Linkin Park running around right now like, we were this without Chester. We didn't know if anybody liked us, but we are always this. We made music before Chester. Try to turn that narrative into something else. In 2005, the year that they got their second Grammy for their collaboration with Jay-Z, titled NUMB Encore, Linkin Park established a nonprofit called Music for Relief, a nonprofit organization that has since raised $5 million for victims of natural disasters and environmental projects. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's why when we had those massive hurricanes on the East Coast, record-breaking hurricanes, true natural disasters, I asked Linkin Park to, at the very least, if they were going to ignore me, start up your nonprofit again and dedicate some of what you make on tour to the reconstruction of your nation, which is what Music for Relief was designed for. I was ignored on that front too, the same way I was ignored about Emily Armstrong, about my being threatened by the Church of Scientology. But here we go, Here's Chester doing a charity benefit, and not for the last time. At this time, he was doing Stars of the Season, which is something that I forgot to mention actually during my high school time. So at the time that I stopped in my story, so going back to school for my senior year of college, Chester, before he passed, was involved in Stars of the Season for multiple years, which was a medical benefit, a charity benefit, I believe run by head of the pediatric committee. Dr. Curran, Dave Curran. I think I might be wrong about his position title, but it was something like that. And him and Chester knew each other. Hi, Dave. And he would do things for that event. He would, I think he brought on Filter, he brought on maybe Stone Temple Pilots, he did solo performances. So he was well versed in charity since 2005, starting as early as like 2002, because remember, Chester early on wanted to do the Bobby Benish Gray Days benefit, and he wasn't allowed to. But here he is, he's allowed to do the Grammy benefit. Anyways, yeah, I still call on Linkin Park to, one, clarify on whether or not Rob Borden is alive, consenting, and you know, what's going on with him, because no, he hasn't said anything publicly. Mike Shinoda should not be allowed to be the voice of Rob Borden. But I also call on Linkin Park to, at the very least, reactivate Music for Relief. That's a core part of your DNA. Help the people in need. That's what you're doing, right? I won't be your casualty. Something's coming. Right? It's going to be you telling the truth and being good people and dedicating yourself to charitable acts, helping the society that you're making money off of. Because I know for a fact a lot of the people you're hoping will listen to your album were devastated by natural disasters you chose to ignore, the same way you chose to ignore not only your influence, your roots, but also the very serious implications of your new band members. Considered one of the most influential skateboarders of all time, Alva joined the Z-Boys in 1972, bringing the trend of skating in empty pools into the mainstream. He is known as the originator of vertical skateboarding and is credited as one of the first skateboarders to perform frontside airs. In 1974, Alva began a long collaborative relationship with Vans and eventually started his own company, Alva Skates, in 1977, 3 years later, at the age of 19. Alva Skateboards was the first company owned and operated by a skateboarder, one of the first companies to use layered maple plywood for skate decks. Alva was the first skateboarder to successfully market himself as a brand, becoming the prototype of the modern professional skateboarder. Alva continues to skate, surf, and play with his band, GFP, while operating his company and overseeing his board lines, Alva Surfcraft and the Power Station Project. In September 2012, Alva celebrated 6 years of sobriety. Okay, so given the reading of that article, I would say that actually this is a weird, maybe there was something where the editor or the writer, Crystal Larson, changed something, or this was a reposting. I don't know why it's like this, but apparently it wasn't December 2014 that this happened. It was May 2013. So if that's true, the Living Things tour was still going on or coming to a close. Stone Temple Pilots was gearing up to add Chester Bennington. There was going to be that litigation dispute between longtime friends and also colleagues, Chester and Scott Weiland. So that's interesting. This was 2013. I don't know why it's dated that way. Yeah, because here it says at the bottom that tickets will be available starting at April 5th. And apparently that ticket secures you a dinner and a concert. So yeah, Chester performed. So let's see if we can find that. 2013 Chester Bennington MusicCares Map Fund performance. Oh, he did perform with Stone Temple Pilots that year. 5/30, 2013. So May 30th, 2013, the official review, MusicCares Map Fund benefit. Reported or updated last on the 5th of July. Or sorry, the 5th of June, 2013. I think we should read this. We spent the hour doing discussion questions. I'm sure that there are a few little things I want to iron out about the day Chester died. And then, yeah, we'll move on. So, The official review, MusicCares Map Fund. This is posted and last touched June 5th, 2013 to the lpfancorner.com. I recently had the pleasure of attending the MusicCares Map Fund benefit concert for the first time. The annual event took place less than a week ago in Los Angeles at the Club Nokia. May 30th, 2013, a collection of fans, friends, families, and music aficionados were invited to an intimate show and awards ceremony, specifically to honor Tony Alva and Chester Bennington for their outstanding achievements of recovery and in the greater community. A handful of eager fans arrived fashionably early at the scene in hopes of getting a glimpse of the superstars who were set to perform and present during the show. I arrived at the scene about 5 minutes before 8 p.m. after an impromptu day of fun in the sun at Six Flags Mountain. That sounds like fun. I caught a few minutes of Chester and the rest of Stone Temple Pilots on the red carpet taking photos and press interviews right outside the venue, and then shortly headed inside the club where the show was set to begin. First of all, wow, what an interesting thought that Scott Weiland was kicked out of Stone Temple Pilots allegedly for his behavior as somebody with a very strong substance dependency. Apparently they got tired of his use of substance and they kicked him out. And then they brought Chester in, and then the band was sued because even though they were all longtime friends all the way back to Hybrid Theory because they would perform together on tour, Scott said, "You cannot use my band name with another person as the lead singer." And Chester ended up having to concede. And despite the fact that he said, "This is our fucking band now," in public during an interview, he says, "Okay, fine. Legally, we can't be Stone Temple Pilots. We have to be Stone Temple Pilots with Chester Bennington," and that's fine. And they use that name to promote their EP High Rise, which has actually a song that was released as a single for the EP called Blackheart, I think, the day of Talinda's birthday that year. And that's interesting. And there's one or two songs. There were two singles. One of them was released on Talinda's birthday. And here is Stone Temple Pilots at a benefit for addiction recovery and commitment to helping those in the industry through that addiction recovery process or that substance dependency process. That's fascinating. So in a way, Chester thought that by bringing his idols on stage and joining the band, he was actually performing in the spirit of being the change during a ceremony which he would be awarded for his achievements in the industry. Very soon after this, the band would break up. There would be almost no reason why. They would kind of participate in Kings of Chaos together. And it was a really serious thing. And I believe at the end, well, let's see here. Scott Weiland died of accidental overdose December 3rd, 2015. So at this time, he's still going to be alive for a while. 2015, this is May 2013. So a little over 2 years later, Scott would die of complications from that substance dependency after having litigated against his longtime band and friends and colleagues, to include Chester Bennington. That's very interesting, isn't it? Which means that if he died in 2015, Chester during his... Yeah, that means at the time that, right? Yeah, December. So by the start of February 2016, Chester would have been sent off to Cirque Lodge. So MusicCares was involved this entire time, meaning the time of this reflection. Scott died literally 2 months before Chester would be an inpatient at Cirque Lodge Rehabilitation in Sundance, Utah. That doesn't sound very empathetic. So one of Chester's longtime colleagues and friends, somebody he had just gone through legal trouble with, had died 2 months before that. That's crazy. Okay. The production crew had transformed the bottom floor of the venue into their own living room scene, equipped with tables, couches, and dinner buffet full of temptation. With Bobby Lee positioned as our host for the night, the show kicked off with a lot of laughs. I watched from the second level balcony along the rest of the general VIP and LPU ticket holders. Oh, did you hear that? So this benefit that Chester participated in for MusicCares was also an LPU event, a Linkin Park Underground fan club event. The same way that the September 5th, 2024 Emptiness Machine release was also an LPU show. They did the raffle the same way. A relaxing performance by Early Morning Rebel paved the way for presenter Anthony Kiedis, who took the stage in order to present the From the Heart Award to legendary skateboarder Tony Alva. After delivering an insightful and inspiring speech, Mr. Alva then proceeded to perform 3 songs with his Chicken Noodle project featuring Ray Barbie and Matt Rainwash. I've never heard of that. Next up was an energetic performance by Ida Maria, I think that's how you say that, and a few witty remarks from Mr. Andy Dick before Linkin Park's very own Mike Shinoda was introduced to present the Stevie Ray Vaughan Award to Chester Bennington. These motherfuckers, dude. Oh my God. Oh. I'm legitimately finding all of this out as I'm reading. If I knew before, I forgot, okay? Maybe this is why I'm here. Maybe it's because I did know, because I remembered. So not only is Chester there after this litigation, or right before, with Scott Weiland, bringing a band whose lead singer was literally just kicked out of the band for substance use problems, to this rehabilitation award ceremony, during which Chester is being presented the Stevie Ray Vaughan Award for helping musicians through the substance abuse and substance dependency recovery process, and it's handed to him by fucking Mike Shinoda. By Mike Shinoda. How come Howard Stern didn't have anything to say about this last year? How come fucking Zane Lowe, Mr. I'm so researched and educated and cultured, how come he didn't bring this up? Why is the Grammy Awards document on this particular benefit misdated? I want to know. I want to know which people at the top of the fucking chain are responsible for this misinformation and this brainwashing. Several kind words and worthy praises were exchanged of Chester. Chester nervously took to the podium to give thanks in an acceptance speech. I would love to see if I could find that. No, it's not coming up easily. So I wonder what it was. I wonder what he said. Stone Temple Pilots was set to perform a mini set of classic hits shortly after. Stone Temple Pilots joined on stage by mega musician Slash, who, by the way, is friends with Alan Sinclair, the friend of Bill Silva that I came into contact with during Chester's wake. Duff McKagan, for an awesome rendition of All the Young Dudes. Stone Temple Pilots also played their new single, Out of Time, which was the moment I was looking forward to the most that night. Needless to say, the song was amazing. Chester sang the hell out of it like a true champion. Unfortunately, the show came to an end, and soon after, but the night was still young. A small group of us headed over to the Yard House restaurant, a few drinks and late night indulgences, before we parted our ways. In summary, the event was really fun with some very nice people and great music. I'm glad I had the opportunity to see Chester receive such an honorary award, as well as his performance with Stone Temple Pilots, who I've been a fan of for quite some time, but never had the chance to see before now. Many thanks to the MusicCares Map Fund, as well as other sponsors, for putting together such a great event. I'm looking forward to next year. It's spelled Dana, or Dinah. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But yeah, that's really interesting. It's really fucking interesting. Okay. So yeah. At Club Nokia on May 30th, 2013, Chester performed with STP amid some controversy. Most likely, let's see, when did Chester... We got an hour left. So just before this, on the 20th, 10 days earlier, Chester confirmed that he had a long-term commitment to Stone Temple Pilots, and that was... reported by Loudwire, so it's substantial. Okay, great. So yeah, back to my discussion question on this. I wonder what musicians he helped, what musicians he was undercover with, if any of them stabbed him in the back, why none of them have said anything at all that since I've been out, since he died, and I want to know if any of them were involved, considering that Chester had been working with people when he died, such as Watsky and Billy Howardell of A Perfect Circle, and many more, including actually Quiddy as well. So, who works now with Donald Glover as Childish Gambino. And yeah, I'm just very, very fucking curious. And let's see, were there any other questions that I had that I wanted to bring up? Because the first one was, which songs were about who and which songs were about what? And my second discussion question was what I just said it was. I'm going to take about 5 minutes to take a break. And I am going to think about if there's anything I wanted to add to that moment that Chester passed. I think there are a few things, including Talinda's comment on my anger and my apology. So if that's all this is, that's all it is, and that's fine. We figured out some pretty crazy shit just now. Ugh. It's fucking bananas. Let's take a look at those comments. I know some of you were saying some things. Hello, Danny Mac and Cheese, Charlotte, Nikki. I agree about the cats, Danny. All of my animals are manifest. If you guys remember, I had an orange cat last year. And Taki just happened to be the reincarnated Hello, Stefani. Aurelia. Thanks, Jay. I'm glad you like the fit. Really? You think the shirt screaming love and light? That's great. This is actually one of Trilogy's shirts from way back when we met. Like I said, most of our clothes are either Chester's old clothes or what they had. So this is actually pretty like wiped out, like washed out. No, P. Nobody is trying to do what I'm doing. I'm the next generation. GNX is a great album. Hello, Crimson. Hello, Preston. Nene F. Carolina, sad about Scott Weiland. Yeah, I understand that. That's fair. I'm glad that you are thinking about Scott. His son Noah right now is going through a pretty hard time. If you guys wanted to go, give him some love. What, Alicia, are you saying STP said that he was falling asleep in the studio in X, Y, and Z? Suli, hello. Yeah, if anybody's here and they want to introduce yourself, feel free. These people would love to talk to you. And who knows? I may check at the right time and I might see what you said. Okay. I'll start with the apology, I guess. I'll start in a moment. I'm going to play piano for a second, too. My God. Open! Just got to yell at it sometimes. We didn't get to the point in the story yet, but Bill Silva would eventually become my boss, and he's also one of the very many people I reached out to for protection against Scientology and for acknowledgement in terms of tickets to the first show that on their pre-release tour, which was the Kia Forum. And so yeah, he didn't respond at all, and actually the other day I told him he was disgraceful, that him and I were not going to be cool again, and that I didn't want to talk to him anymore because, not that he was talking to me, he ignored my texts, but I did find through Ryan DeMarty's Instagram, who I also blocked and told was a disgrace recently, who's also a member of Machine Shop Records with Bill Silva, Bradford Delson, and Mike Shinoda. He just never responded. Bill has refused to acknowledge me at all, and I was once his employee. I actually now kind of want to say, like, I wish I didn't help you downsize. I wish I wasn't helpful to you. I wish I was an absolute fucking maniac, and I ran around trying to figure out where all that undocumented water was coming from, that bottomless well beneath your house. Yeah, I stressed myself out for you, and you ain't worth that fucking stress. I'll tell you that. A fair boss, but in the long run, a butt face. That's how I feel. Oh. That's not it. That's A. Okay. There we go. Dyslexia. One, two, that's not flat. Okay, I'm done. I got to breathe. I'm okay now. How much time we got left? $25, we got 30 minutes. Yeah, okay. I think we got this. It'll be pretty simple. So, starting with my apology, I was thinking about it, and I know we're not there in the timeline yet for this to really come up naturally, but it is worth saying something over, you know? Also, what good would I be if I recognized something like this and didn't say something about it, you know? That's what I say. When you see something, say something, and I saw it, so here I am saying something. In reflection on how scared Talinda may have been of me and why, assuming that she is just a woman who has been traumatized and is also a mother, and maybe this was a gut reaction from an emotional place, a fearful place, what she did to me, I could see how some of my earlier interactions with Talinda would have scared her. I went from being a relatively self-contained, if not bitter and comically black individual, to being like, well, you know, outspoken. Not well-spoken necessarily, but outspoken. So that's why I said earlier that I do think I should apologize for the way in which I held myself, but not for the energy in which I was delivered. Because where I may have been aggressive, the energy itself was a product of many moments in time where there was meant to be change between me and my then mother, Talinda Bennington. We had a lot of moments where we butted heads, and I said, I'm putting me forward. I'm putting me first, not you. Which is why the summer that I got the call, I was dodging everybody. It was a matter of degrees, slow tightening, a very slow, chaotic, madness-inducing burn, so to speak. After talking about it yesterday, I did get into these memories where I was like, damn, that's such a harsh energy. Not from me, from them. And also, how can, you know, an aside, back to the MAP fund benefit discussion, how did Talinda get away with saying, I didn't know he struggled with addiction like that, I didn't know what depression was, I didn't know. When as early as 2013, Chester was literally out there doing these things, being awarded for these things. Maybe even earlier. And he wanted to be able to do it as early as 2002. You know, pay back, pay it forward with Bobby Benish. I just don't understand how she can get away with saying something like that, given the actual circumstance of the happening, okay? So with that being said, when I ended up breaking with Talinda in 2020, July, or I guess May, because I sent my letter in June. By July, we were totally finished, probably. We'll see when we get to the timeline. But yeah, after years of things boiling between us, which had begun earlier than Chester's death, something I agreed to stay in, an energy I agreed to live within, given some limitations, in order to protect the children in the situation. After being handed a 50-50 father-like relationship with these kids by Talinda after, following Chester's death, after Chester's passing. In January of 2020, I told her, I said, if you ever do anything like that again, I will snap, and I will never forgive you. I'll get back into that with the next timeline session, but for today, by the time that I had gotten aggressive with Talinda was when I literally broke and there was nothing else. I given up, I bled it out until it break, black out when there's nothing left in me. I wrote that for a reason, because that's often how these situations go with the people who I've had falling outs with. They get every good part of me, they surface every bad part of me, and then forcibly use it against me as if it's an account to my character, as if it's an accounting of who I am, and not me just literally being beaten to death by the person I'm talking to, and then needing to defend myself. And with Talinda, it was that way. Yep, it was. I told her that in January. I told her that when she called in sometime between January and May, when she said she was going to kill Toby and John, fly to New Jersey and just take the time. I said it after my birthday. So even 3 times that year, I had already had the same stupid, annoying-ass conversation with a full-grown adult who told me to go to them if I ever needed to go to them, whether it was serious or not. And then something serious came up and I actually went to them as an adult, as a brand new adult, 18. And now at that point I was 21. And they fucking blew it. They blew my brains out everywhere. And they told me it was my fault, even though they were the one holding the gun. You shot yourself, but how did I do that? You're the one holding the gun. Jamie, shut up. I did break. A part of what would become my executive functioning meltdown, something that had already been their way in the past, back when I was telling Elka I hated her and running out of her house and X, Y, and Z and just going on these very heated speed walks for miles and miles until I calmed down. I was able to regulate. Part of the reason I do that is because once I start talking, especially if the other person's being dense and irritating, I cannot. I used to not have the capacity to zip it back up, to get it back in the bag. Like sometimes you open a suitcase after you packed it too much and you can't re-zip it. And you're like, fuck, how did I do that the first time? It's a lot like that. And so in my isolating, I did it for the protection of the people around me because I am hot when I am hot. And I never learned how to properly deal with that. I never learned to be seen. I never was seen and held. My emotions were always beaten down by my family, blamed on me, and I was often punished for them. Often told I was being, what the public tells me. Attention-seeking, misguided, fucking crazy, X, Y, and Z. You didn't see what you thought you saw, Jamie. You're hallucinating. But in reality, I really did see it. And I saw it often years before it happened. It was a really slow death. But that's, I guess, the kind of intuition you gain when you have a parent who is heavily dependent on substance like methamphetamine. You grieve the death well before it happened. I knew that she was going to leave me the day that she left me with my grandmother. That's part of it. It's part of this, the synchronicity, the precognition, the empathy. So, yeah, when she offered me my family and I was with her for years and I helped her through 320 and I kept her steering straight with our business partners and trying to remain focused, and then she did what she did, it was like, damn. And I'm speaking a little bit in the future here. And I'm also speaking, backwards facing as well. Because it's not that much different when I would eventually snap on her. Because at that point, I had already told her, like, you're not making life decisions for me anymore. If you ever do anything to, like, be a problem and continue to do your manipulative things, I will not tolerate it. And so I called her, when she took my family away and she separated me from my inheritance and she destroyed everything that I was building and told me eventually would tell me that if I ever tried to come against her, she'd never stop coming after me and she'd sue me for defamation and X, Y, and Z. Even if it wasn't true, she would just do it when she threatened my life. I snapped. I called screaming the same way I would call McKenna, and after being abandoned by McKenna. One of the most challenging things I've ever experienced is being lied to, plain-faced, by someone who's supposed to protect you and also supposed to be honest with you, lies to your face, abandons you, and it ultimately all comes falling back on you, not them. You're the one who gets disciplined. You're the one with the cognitive dissonance. You're the one who doesn't know what's going on. You're the one speaking from the heart when you shouldn't be, X, Y, and Z. You're the one who never gets to see your past again, never gets to know why things happen. Like I said when I read the court transcript, you can be abused by people your entire life, and the second you stand up, they can get a restraining order against you, and they can lie about it. They can win against you on technicality because they're used to taking advantage of people that way. They know the way it works. So with that being said, I freaked out and I said things like, why aren't you here for me? You said you were my mother. You said you would be here for X, Y, and Z. I did what you asked, and yet still here you are dividing me and the family. Why would you leave me here like this? You literally just said when Elka boxed me out of her house in November of 2019 last year that you would never do anything like that to me. You took my kids from me. You took my siblings from me. You took my inheritance from me. You took everything from me. And then saddled me with debt. Like, you knew, right? You knew that you were going to do this. You let me sit in silence for however long while you jerked my chain and you pulled my leg and you fucking had your best friend serve me, X, Y, and Z. You did that. And you know you did it, right? You had every intention of being that way, right? Because this isn't trusting. Your love isn't loving. Where are you? Why are you not here to help me? I called Alyssa. I said the same shit. I said, Alyssa, did you fucking know she was going to do this to me? Did you let her do this to me? You let her take those kids from me? You let her take my reputation from me? You let the law get involved? You were the middleman. You were supposed to help with this. You said everything was fucking fine. Oh, what? Now you don't want to be involved and you're going to tell me, I see your true colors because I won't let my abuser who admitted to abusing me for over a decade hear what they want to hear so that we can just go back to normal when normal was literal living fucking hell? Like I said, when Chester died and all that chaos was going on during his wake, the family was just the family without Chester. It's just what it was. There was nobody to shield it, nobody to sugarcoat it, nobody to go, oh, but I love you guys though. He was dead. So everybody just was the way they were, fractured, at odds with each other, thinking someone had something to do with something, even if they might not have, maybe they did. And that's the last thing Alyssa told me. She said, I see your true colors. Motherfucker, I'll show you true colors. Who the shit? What the fuck is this? You fucking backstabber. I literally came to you for help. You said it was okay. And then the second your fucking sugar mama goes off the rails, you're like, I don't even know you. I don't even see you. I ain't never known you in my fucking life. Don't you come up on me acting like we know each other. I'm going to tell people how it is. You're... You smell bad and you ugly, Jamie. Fuck you. No. And you know what Alyssa also told me? She plain-faced told me, if you don't walk back on what you said to Talinda the day of your birthday, you will lose your friends, you will lose your family, you will lose everything you've ever known, you will never get it back, you have no idea what you set into motion, and if you don't make this right, you will lose everything. And you know what I said to that, even in that moment, knowing it was true, all those years ago? I said, all right, well, I already said I was going to quit, so, you know, fuck it. I'm writing my letter of resignation, and that's how that came out. That's how that happened. So, you know, yeah, I'm sure that you do have a collection of very uncomfortable and probably aggressive. I don't think they're threatening, but I could see how they might feel that way. And maybe at a point of extreme stress as a undiagnosed and untreated victim of some extremely toxic and manipulative behaviors, I might have used words that I wouldn't use now. I might have used words that threatened physicality, that maybe even threatened death or alluded to death. And that's very real. Because I was calling myself the N-word on Instagram. Somehow, nobody caught that. I've been talking down on myself this entire time. Go back and listen to the 2010 retrospective on SoundCloud. I literally say, oh, I fucking suck and blah, 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 blah. Literally talking down on myself. You can hear the cognitive dissonance and the way it's affecting my body if you listen to some of those clips. The way that I suddenly start talking different and my tongue's loose in my mouth and I can't seem to keep my thoughts and my tone changes. I know how it looks on Chester now too. But, you know, Jamie's crazy. But yeah, you know, I apologize. I apologize for using the language I was given to express things that are violent by nature and painful. And, you know, I used words I probably didn't mean to use in pain that I didn't want to experience, and was only in because I was trying to protect my siblings, kids like me. And so I thought it would be, you know, a part of my character and also, you know, fair that I say, I give you permission, Talinda. The only thing you have against me is that. That's the only thing I can ever see you coming out with and having a serious claim to feeling scared or not feeling heard or whatever it is. Like, I'm sure that there are personal things that you feel, and that's fine. But in terms of actual evidence of me doing something in the real world that might have been problematic, the only thing that I can think of is those text messages and those emails. Or voicemails, sorry. Because what I wrote in the emails is what I meant, and that was supposed to be there. So, you know what? If you really are as dedicated, as overly dedicated as you are, or you seem to be, to your narrative, then I give you permission. It's only fair. Go ahead and share with every single person, not just the police officer that you brought into your influence for your benefit. Go ahead and tell everybody. I allow it. Like I said, fair. At least we'll be talking about it, you know? I'm willing to take responsibility and to clarify for all of my actions as misguided and conditioned as they were. So go ahead, share those voicemails where I was screaming at you for help. Go ahead and share those texts between me and whoever else that might have been a little heated. But do me a favor. The day that you said that I threatened to kill you, after July 5th, July 6th, when you called me at Trilogy's aunt's house, release those too. So people can see how hard I was trying to get you to be respectful to be aware of the fact that I am here to help you, that the olive branch, the reconciliation that I organized is something I genuinely wanted and that we had genuinely agreed to. If you're going to release one of the correspondence, you release all of them. Those are the terms. Feel free to tell everyone the truth of your experience, but don't forget to tell them the entire truth. That's a message left behind in case somebody's watching. I give you permission to out some of the most emotionally and mentally vulnerable and expressive times of my entire life. Go ahead, let everybody see it. You show it to everybody, and then you go ahead and make fun of me for being on the spectrum, and you go ahead and make fun of me for being undiagnosed and untreated with my CPTSD. You can go ahead and tell everybody how you said you would pay for it just before that. My treatment, my EDMR, and how you took it away because I didn't meet your conditions. The same way Samantha did to me a couple of years later in 2023 and 2024. I'll give you help, but only if you do what I say. If you act the way I want you to. Yeah, I'm not really about that. Sorry. Samantha could have seen her fate coming a million miles away if I was allowed to talk about you, but you decided to make all of this about you instead of what it's really about. All the snakes, which you are one of them, in my opinion. So, yeah. That brings me to a couple of memories that I have of Chester passing. I remember you sitting me down and me being like, you know, I'm angry with him. But the only reason I'm angry with him is because his death, it kind of stained this record that I thought the kids might be able to grow up with of being in alternate space than I was when I was a child. I feel like him killing himself the way he did, you know, considering that this is a suicide, it just is insensitive to the legacy that he built for his children. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know, again, I see it. If he did think that was the best option, then that was the best option. I support him, but I do wish he was nicer to me when he was alive. And I do wish that, you know, I wasn't so angry with him for putting the kids through this. And that leads me to two more memories. One of Chester being an asshole to me as late as 2016, and Talinda's comments on my anger. What she had to say when I told her that during the wake. The same time she'd be telling me, I want you to work through it. I really think you're not ready to see what's in this autobiography, but if you do the work and you come back, I'll let you have it. I wonder if she used my own context to pretextualize an interaction that she would use to her benefit. Not because it's true, not because I would be too angry to look at these records, but because she just didn't want me to know what the fuck was going on. As usual. All right, starting with Chester, and then we'll jump off because we've got 13 minutes. There was a moment where Gwen, one of the later babysitters of the twins and Tyler, a great soul. I have no idea why she's not defended me or checked in on me or anything, given that she's seen some of my stories. She knows what's going on because I called her and told her myself. So much for friendship, am I right? I just want to make sure you and the kids are safe and you and the kids are happy. No, you don't. You don't give a fuck about that. You give a fuck about protecting yourself because you ended up in a long-term relationship and so in a position in which you weren't supposed to really be in the first place as an employee of the Bennington household. So you just looking for something to do for a second, ended up doing something for a long time when you probably shouldn't have, and you probably should have gone home and done your own life, and now you're stuck in the context. And I understand that. Maybe I'm just a little angry because you said that you did care about us, just like Ted Stryker said he did, and then you guys have both looked and seen and not done anything about this. Not offered any support. But yeah, she was there. I was visiting. I was 21. I was visiting for just a little bit. And Chester had come out of some part of the house and the dogs were following. Maybe he was in the kitchen and I was entering the kitchen. And You know, no, I wasn't 21 because he still had that initial house by the cliff. So he was still at that house, which means it was probably 2014, 2015. So I was probably like 18, 19 years old. And the dogs were jumping. They were like Bruiser, Buster, Sally. They were all jumping on my hands and feet. And I walked through and I just jokingly was like, Dad, do you see these guys? Like, I like walked in like, oh, what are you trying to do? Eat me? And then I looked at my dad and I laughed and I was like, look at these guys. They're crazy. Did you feed them today? And it was just a joke. It literally was just like a funny thing. And he turned and he snapped on me just like that. And it makes me wonder how many more times it happened, because there was that one time with the water bottle and the stair banister, which I brought up when he lived in Gilbert. That was one of them. Samantha says she has memories of him throwing me against the wall during a family vacation. I'm just wondering what his physical interactions really looked like now that I'm starting to piece together how physical they might have been. And he gets up in my face and he's like, did I fucking feed them? I don't know. Did you fucking feed them? Like he's squaring up, right? Like this is like you're walking on the street, you make a comment, and somebody's like, hey, what, you fucking talking to me? Mo, you want to fucking talk to me? I'm gonna fuck you up. It's like that. Chester comes up on me. What, do you fucking feed them? Ask yourself the fucking question. I'm like, whoa, I was just joking. I'm just messing around. And he's like, no, watch your fucking mouth. Did I fucking feed the dogs? Who the fuck are you? Just starts going off on me. And he's like, no, fuck that. You can go to your fucking room or you can get the fuck out of my house. I was like, whoa, that's hardcore. I've never been kicked out of Chester's house before. And this was after he had apologized to me and everything for what he had said to me about keeping my head down and minding my own fucking business after he left in 2013 back to California. This is the same house. And I'm standing there and I'm like, whoa. And Gwen's just watching and I'm like, this is fucking embarrassing. Like, you're not going to say anything and you're going to act like this is a normal fucking situation. And I'm fucking 18, 19 years old. I'm not going to my fucking room. Who the fuck you think you're talking to like that? And I said as much. I said, go to my fucking room. Who the fuck are you talking to? Like that. And I said, then I'd rather be out of your fucking house. What the fuck do you think you're talking about? Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? What the fuck do you think you're talking about? And I left the house. Because I was raised on that energy. That's the energy I gave. Talinda getting a DVRO and lying under record is like Sean Dowdell telling me this year in June that, oh, I was just reciprocating the energy you brought to me, Jamie, when you asked when I was going to be done pillaging the dead corpse of your father. And I told you that you should get the fuck out of here. We as a band don't give a fuck about your thoughts and feelings. Grey Days doesn't give a fuck about you. Anybody who actually cares about your opinions is somebody worth being concerned about. You're a fucking depressive spiraling drug addict and nobody fucking wants you anyways and you did nothing with your life. That's not matching energy for energy, bitch. You've literally spent 6 years hoarding information that validates all conspiracy theories about Chester's passing, which you've used to your advantage in the exploitation of your fan base and my family. No, you're not sending the same energy. You, for a year and 3 months, ignored me after I came to you to help you seal up your sinking fucking ship, and you tried to gaslight me after telling me that my research was a fucking bullshit fucking thing and should not be taken seriously. You tried to gaslight me into a fucking fistfight about a fucking video game problem that never existed. This is the same shit. Liars, thieves, and hypocrites. And that's how sure I am. You can go ahead and share everything you know about me. All of the mean voicemails and the mean text messages. Air me out. Do it. Same thing I told Draven. You want to talk about me? Everything I make is for you. So go ahead. I did the groundwork. I did all the heavy lifting. Go ahead and show everybody how shitty of a person I am. Oh, I bet you can't. Yeah, it is kind of a taunt. Because no, I'm sick and tired of people running up on my name and being like, oh, I know Jamie, I can fucking talk for them. No, you can't. And if you are, you must. So let's hear it. Squabble up. Anyways. And I left the house and I came back and he didn't apologize or nothing. We just moved through it. And that's the way it normally is with everybody. So yeah, it got worse after he died. And moving back to Talinda talking to me about my anger, we have 5 minutes left. When I brought up how angry I was, that he didn't treat me kindly, that there were these kind of situations under our belt, that it was confusing because I had confided in him. And at this point in time during the wake, she knew I was suicidal and she had known since February. And not one time did I become a spokesperson or a point of interest in the 320 Change His Direction campaign. I got to work for free behind the scenes, pitching my own ideas. She would eventually cut me off entirely from the 320 festival, bury me, and I couldn't write that shit on a fucking resume if I wanted to. And she said this, and then used this the same way she would later use Isaiah as justification for her choices, which she made for the benefit of her only. She would go, I think that you should stay angry. If that's the way you feel, you should genuinely express that and you should be allowed to hold that and have that. There's no reason to change. Go ahead. You can be angry. And then later would say, oh, I think you just have a lot to work through before you're ready to hear this. And then later than that, she would go, oh yeah, that doesn't exist. Yeah, I don't have that notebook. I have no idea what you're talking about. There never was anything. And then later go, yeah, I have some ideas about what they might be talking about. I think they might be talking about a notebook. But if so, it doesn't exist. And also, if it is that notebook, it's his father's. And I don't owe that to him. Okay. Well, yeah. We already know how I feel about the notebook. I said that I'm not interacting with or speaking with Talinda until she gets up on stage. I think that's only fitting since she inserted herself into the mental health conversation as a professional. Acknowledge what she's done, how many and who many people she affected. Apologize sincerely about what she did, and then offer over that book as a peace offering, the beginning of long-form rehabilitation and apology for what's been going on these last 7 years. Never threatened her, never. Not even in my anger did I threaten her like that, ever. And not even like that, because I know someone might try to twist that. Oh, you said like that, Jamie. Shut up. I did not threaten them. I did not have a sexual affair with them. I did not try to kidnap my siblings and X, Y, and Z. Lies, all of them. Lies. The truth is that I actually sold my soul to protect my family, not knowing that they were utilizing me as a polarizing mechanism, making me invisible for the purpose of utilizing me when necessary and protecting their invested interests, which too include, but not limited to, my father's career and legacy. Yeah, you tell me what kind of mother says that shit. I don't remember too, she also said, I don't know if I can have the cabin in my name because I don't think I can take care of it because I don't think I can go back. And then she also said, my children need me to be strong right now. I'm not going to work through my emotions until later. And I said, don't you think that's actually detrimental? Your children might need to see you work through those and you also need to work through them yourself. During the wake, I said these things. Makes you kind of wonder where this person actually lies on the scale of morality, what their intentions are, how far back those intentions might go in terms of exploiting vulnerable peoples, and how many other victims there might be. And there you go. Is there any other memory? I have a couple minutes left I'd like to throw out about that time. Oh, yes. I did bring up 320. One of the things that I wanted to talk about that was the way in which Anna Shinoda was involved from the very beginning, how Linkin Park actually paved the way for 320 Changes Direction to exist. Because even though we haven't hit that part in the timeline, it's actually really important to understand that a couple of things were going on. So Talinda, like I said, wanted to create a social advocacy around the stigma concerning mental health awareness and mental illness. She wanted to create that umbrella number, change some legislation around the ceiling of autopsies, etc. Stuff she never did. Instead, Linkin Park held a 3-hour-long concert during which Emily Armstrong almost participated or attempted to. And the proceeds actually went to 2 different places. One went to the We Share a Solar project because on top of being a charitable individual, Chester also was working on third world power solutions in the form of a suitcase with the We Share Solar project, which basically acted as a solar powered battery that could offer power to low, I guess, income neighborhoods and also like actual villages. So not only was he helping with natural disasters around the country, but he was also helping find power solutions for third world challenges. And so the money from that show went to that, and it went to Give an Hour, founded a nonprofit dedicated to mental health resources and the confrontation of mental illness challenges, as well as with a focus on veterans, U.S. Army veterans, military veterans. She would become a big picture later, but a big part of the picture later. But Talinda and Barbara got involved very quickly after the show, which was in October of 2017. Like I said, we're not there yet in the timeline. But like I said, also, not only was Mike Shinoda involved in setting all of 320 Changes Direction up, as well as Bradford Delson and Rob Borden and Joe Hahn and Dave Farrell, but also Anna Shinoda. Anna Shinoda was there when Talinda said she wanted to make a nonprofit, and Shinoda, or Anna, said, you shouldn't make your own nonprofit. You won't, it'll be a lot of time, a lot of resources invested, a lot of money, and you need to focus now on maintaining your wealth, which is fair, that is true, because Chester was the breadwinner, always, and now he wasn't there. So you need to make your money last long, but also, a lot of people don't get to make it as far as they want to, just being their own nonprofit. It requires a lot of consistent effort, and that's years and years, and it's basically you're dedicating your life. So it'd actually be better for you to do a short-term engagement with a short-term outcome, and so you might want to partner with somebody. So when the 3-hour concert developed those funds through the ticket costs and all that, they were able to do the show at Hollywood Bowl, which is Bill Silva's asset. The one who helps to run Machine Shop, is a part of the Recording Academy, is the chair of the MusicCares organization, who's also a recipient of a MusicCares award. They were able to do that through Bill Silva. And yeah. And so then Give an Hour absorbed Talinda's 320 effort through its initiatives program, which is why it's called the 320 Changes Direction Initiative, because the Change Direction Initiative is a Give an Hour initiative. So 320 Changes Direction is not necessarily its own entity. It is the dead spirit of my father pimped out by his wife to a network focused on and dedicated to U.S. military victims and the prevention of their suicides. And I think that's all very interesting. You know, Barbara plays a big part in Talinda's wedding. She's never said anything after the wedding. And I gotta say, Barbara, what you did was slimy, and it reeks of Washington, D.C. You're extremely political in the way that you handled certain things, and it's pretty fucking shitty. And your daughter's at fault too, so we're going to talk about that. But that comes much later than October 2017. It happens in 2020, January, during Talinda's wedding. So we'll get there. Yeah. I think it's important to lay out what it was that Talinda tried to do, and also that not only was Linkin Park fundamentally involved from the ground up, but also Kevin Lyman, at the time of Chester's death, the man who founded and runs Warped Tour, had just quit. He just shut down Warped Tour because, one, he'd been doing it for decades, and two, there was a big problem with sexual assault allegations and subsequent lawsuits filed against artists who were accused of that behavior outside of the festival and also of that behavior during the festival. Warped Tour was supposed to have its last run ever due to these allegations, due to these lawsuits, due to the tiresome challenge of constantly making this thing happen. And Talinda took an opportunity there. She said, well, Kevin's not doing Warped Tour, so maybe I could have him help me put together 320 Festival instead, and we can do an annual thing based off of that. This would be during the time of 2018. So Kevin would come later. The show would come a little later, but earlier than Kevin. And then Talinda had started almost immediately. She said, I can never let this happen to anybody ever again. To no wife, to no husband, to no father, to no child, to no friend. Nobody can ever experience this again. I have to do my best to make that happen. And she then proceeded to not complete her goals, allow certain things of extreme importance to happen that are all shady as fuck, and she chose not to say anything. And that includes my being imposed with a domestic violence restraining order under false pretenses. Okay, so let's run it back. What did we do today? Today we did a lot for 2 hours. We went through the disclaimer. We did the runner show. We talked about the discussion questions. I then brought up some memories alongside an extended apology, an extension of my apology, an evolution of my apology to Talinda. And I gave Talinda permission to share what she thinks, what I think may be the material that made her frightened. My most vulnerable moments captured in text messages and voicemails. It's fair. In today's discussion, we got to talk about the fact that Linkin Park and also Chester as a musician writes coded messages about people and happenings in his life. I wonder which are which songs belong to which expressions, and about who. And we talked about Chester's involvement in charity, not just Music for Relief, but also MusicCares, MAP Fund, his challenging history with Stone Temple Pilots, his loss of Scott Weiland, his forcible submission to a substance rehabilitation center, maybe through MusicCares. I asked if MusicCares was involved in any of this, and I also uncovered the very large scope of one of Chester's management team and his responsibilities, Bill SILVA, who was also at one point my boss for a brief period. And I think that's pretty fucking good, guys. I did not expect to find some of those connections. We also got to tie it back into the Jay-Z breakdown that I was doing before this full moon exercise. And yeah, I think I'll be back tomorrow. And we will continue along the timeline. Hopefully we'll get through 2018, 2019, and then from the end of 2019 to now. There's little tiny environments nested within other tiny environments. And yeah. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for participating in the third installment of this episode of Let's Talk, a series during which I conduct deep dives into what I consider to be interesting facets of my life. I've been your host, AKA, I'm tired of telling my fucking story. I'll see you next time. Have a nice day.